Hi, folks. This is Dave, and we'll be starting at about 5 o'clock in about 15 minutes. I was wanted to make sure that the sound sounded okay. If that sounds okay, if you would put a yes in the question box, and let me know if you can see my screen that says the compass system on it. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Thanks for your help. I appreciate it. Sit back and relax for a little bit, and about 5 o'clock we'll start. Waiting for a bunch of people to get into the room, so looking forward to having a great webinar and telling you all about the compass system and how wonderful it's been for me as I'm a 12-year trader, and this software has changed my whole trading methodology and also my success rate. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you all. Good afternoon, everybody. It's coming up on 5 o'clock. Got quite a few people still coming into the room here, so I'm gonna wait a little bit, a few minutes, let enough people get in here before we get started. And I'm speaking to you from South Carolina, so if you have time, just pop in the box where you're from, just so I'll have some idea of where all the folks are that are going to listen to this webinar. We get quite an array of states where everybody's from. A lot of people from out west. Got some people from Hawaii, Texas, California, North Carolina. Probably waiting for some more snow up there. I appreciate it all. I appreciate your participation. I'm going to wait about 1 more minute, and then I'm going to start, and we can proceed from there. And I'm going to probably go right through the broadcast without trying to answer questions, but please put them into the question box. Rory in the Brightline office will be monitoring some of those, and he can probably help with some of those. And then toward the end, I can go ahead and if there's questions in there that need to be answered or I can answer, I'll be happy to do that. Question, will it be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, so you'll be able to get a copy of it. All right, so after 5, I'm going to get started. Maybe some late joiners come in, but want to get started on this. Good afternoon again. My name is Dave, and I'm working with Rlt Trading. And tonight we're going to talk about, this afternoon, we're going to talk about this compass trading system. This first slide is me and my position that I usually am in, 8 or 9 hours a day or more, with my 3 screens and doing my trading on there. So I've been trading for a little over 12 years professionally, and have traded mostly in options. I do some stocks, but mostly in options, and
I use quite a few different option strategies. I do quite a lot of spreads, debit spreads, credit spreads, things like that. So I'm fairly well versed in options and have been using them for a long time. I like the leverage that they bring to trading. And I also run a options trading room for Rlt 5 days a week from 9:30 to 4. So we have a nice group of people in there in the trading room. And what I want to talk about, let me first go over this, the usual disclaimer, so that everybody knows that trading is risky and you can lose your money when you're trading. Everybody probably knows that, but we're not responsible for anything that you guys do within any of our recommendations on stocks, options, Forex, etc. So I think everybody knows that, but that's just don't ever trade with more money than you can afford to lose, and try to keep your risk profile in check. All right, so this presentation is going to be about 45 minutes. I'm going to go over it in quite a bit of detail, the compass system, and at the end of it, the 45-minute presentation, we're going to be, of course, because you come to the webinar, we're going to be offering some nice discounts on the software and some additional software we'll put with the compass system that I've used, and it's pretty exciting stuff. It really is. We'll run through some of these slides here. What you really need to be profitable, consistently profitable in trading, is a competitive edge over other traders, and I mean retail traders. We're never gonna have an edge over the institutions. We're always going to be working with other retail traders. Those are the folks that we will take our money from. And you need to have, obviously, you need to have edges. You need to have the right tools to spot the edge, which is where the compass system comes in. And you need what's called etched in stone rules. You need to have some sort of a strategy that you use for getting into a trade, getting out of a trade, etc., to keep your losses low and make as much money as you can on the ones that work. So I'm going to break this system down. Just so I want to kind of go over how I got here. I've been a full-time technical trader for 12 years, and I don't use fundamentals. I use all technicals off of the charts. And what I had found, since I've been trading for 12 years, I found that in the last few years, technical setups that I traded off of and that worked most of the time, 90% of the time, were dropping down. They work maybe 70% of the time, 75% of the time, and sometimes work less than that. And they just weren't as effective. And I was curious as to why this was occurring. I've talked to a lot of other traders, and they detected the same thing. And it didn't really make any difference what the market was doing, good market, bad market. They just did not, the technicals didn't work. And this is what brought me to Rlt. After kind of delving into what was causing this problem, it was apparent to me that the problem was that institutions were controlling the market more and more than they ever have, and were with the algos. I mean, they have algos that can go in there and they can write software to basically identify different retail traders' patterns and take advantage of it. And I came across the Rlt system that Mark Sachs developed, and it was the only system I'd come across that actually does a deep dive into institutional buying and selling, and produces chart information that you can see to make a determination of whether the institutions are actually driving the trade or not. And this is a big deal, because if you can find a trade that looks good but does not have institutional money behind it, then you want to pass on that trade. And what the Rlt system does, besides finding the good trades, it also can tell you the ones that you may think look good and won't work, or unlikely to work. I mean, some of them will work, of course, but the point is they don't have as high a probability as the ones that have institutional money in there. So that's how I actually came across the Rlt system, and I bought the system and myself. I used it for 6 months and was really, really impressed with it. And I talked to Rory and Mark down there and said, you know, this system is really effective for people who want to trade options, day trade them, or short-term swing trading, which is how I actually got into that room. So that's how I got here, how I came across the software package and the Compass system. And believe me, it took me, I went through hundreds of webinars looking for some sort of a solution to this. So that's how I got there. So the Compass system that we're going to talk about here, what it does is identifies the highest probabilities, the highest setups, and like I said, sidestepping the ones that look good but will fail more often than they succeed. And this is really important in trading because you can go and talk to any trader who's has been trading for a good long time, and they can show you just reams and reams of really good, successful trades. The problem is there's also reams and reams of losing trades that we want to try to negate. We don't want to be going into those kind of trades. So that's one of the main things that the Compass system will do for traders is avoid those. And again, it does it by identifying when the institutions are driving in the move and when they're not. The Compass system, by the way, is when you see the charts, and they basically look like this, but I'll show you some screenshots I've got of some of them. The information is really easy to interpret because it's color coded on the screen, but you have to understand the complex amount of trading data that's being crunched to come up with this information, a massive amount of institutional information. So that's why this is really important, and the visual element that makes it really easy, even for new traders, to identify good trades and bad trades. And you'll see what I mean when you see the charts. So again, here's where the edge over the institutional traders. We don't have an edge over institutional traders. We have an edge over retail traders. We only take trades that are being driven by the institutions. We trade stocks that have relative strength or weakness versus the SPYs or the Qs. So if we're in a long stock, we want it to be relatively strong to the SPY, so that if the SPY flattens out or moves back, that stock will not take as big a hit as one that doesn't have relative strength. And we also trade in the direction of the overall market trend. So if the market is bullish over long term, we want to be going long. And again, how does it give us an edge? Well, our trade's going to be supported by institutional buying and selling. They'll be outperforming the SPY, and they'll be moving in the direction of the market. So we basically have the wind at our back when we do these trades. So this is I'm going to show 3 or 4 charts before we get into the system, and you're not going to understand what all these, but what I want to show you is just how these trades work. This is an intraday trade. This is a 5-minute chart, of the Compass system, and I took this trade right here on this candle right here, and you see this is a resistance line. It breaks through here, and you notice that all of these things are green in here, and it stays. I stayed in this trade all the way up until it hit this pivot point, which is a resistance level right here, and took profits. And it's really easy to follow along with a trade like that. So that was like it was probably an hour trade, something like that, and returned about 15%. So here's one on the short side, and this is McDonald's, and this one we get in pretty early in the morning. If you notice right here on this, this is what's called a pop out of the box bearish signal. It's telling us that we've had compression and the stock is dropping. So I got in here and I followed it down, and you see that everything is red. Pretty easy to see a bearish trade when you can see all this red on the screen. And so down it comes, down it comes, down it comes. And I actually stayed in this until it fell down here. Could have got out here, but I get out right here. And again, a nice short trade that worked really well. This is PGR. This was another intraday trade. Oh, so I'm sorry. This was a day trade. Yeah, this was a day trade. And I took this on the 6th of January, right here, on this particular candle right here. And when you learn what all of these colors mean, you're going to see how impressive that is. But you notice we've got this pop out of the box signal, stock in compression, pops out of the box. We got all green or blue across all of our lines down here. And the stock started to move up, and it moved up really nicely. And we get out right here near this resistance level, and it was a nice gain for us. And this was Johnson & Johnson. This I put this up because I wanted to show you a trade that failed. This didn't work for us. And this is going to happen anytime you have a system. There's anybody tells you that any kind of a strategy or system that you've got is 100% foolproof, they're lying to you. That's not true. There's always going to be failures. And this was a really nice setup on Johnson & Johnson. Everything was green. We had a nice compression and a nice pop, and you see it just failed. And we can see the institutions were pulling out because the color changed back here. But these are going to happen to you from time to time, and you can't get 100%. So just so you know, we do have some losers occasionally. And this was Newmont Mining. This was one other one that we just took just a couple of days ago, I think. Yeah, we get into this trade right here on this candle right here. Pop out of the box, nice, everything's green. We'll discuss these trend dots, and it popped up, and it just climbed up all day long, and we get out, up here. But when these turned yellow, we get out. But anyway, that kind of shows you what I'm trying to explain here is how the color coding makes this easy to spot bullish and bearish trades without going into tremendous detail of technical analysis. And we'll show you what each one of these things means. So assume, since you're in the webinar, you're trying to find a way to be more consistent trading, or learn how to trade, or basically make money consistently. And that's one of the biggest problems most people have. They'll have a nice winning week, or a couple of weeks, and then it'll give it all back. And because they don't know how to minimize their risk and maximize reward. That's everybody says that. It's a lot easier said than done. And that trading with indicators that lag price. And this is really important. The fact that what I'm going to show you here with the compass system is we've got the indicators built into that are across multiple time frames, which identifies when institutions are actually driving the trend. When it's across multiple time frames, it's always the institutions that are doing it. So. And again, a lack of mathematically proven methodology. This is Mark Sachs that developed this as a PhD in math and developed this based on that. So it's got a solid mathematics behind it. And I think about myself here, my study of price mechanics. Basically, I'm looking at charting trends and strategies based on setups and bear flags and breakouts and things like that. And I use that now even more effectively with the compass system. I've always used that method to trade, but the fact that they weren't working as frequently was a big problem. And the compass system has changed that for me. And again, you've never seen a system like this. There really isn't anything out there that crunches the institutional data like this does. And he says it has 150 traders. Mark uses this as on futures in the morning, and they have a lot of traders in that they trade with. I have quite a few traders in my trading room as well. This just been launched the first part of January. So here's the problem. If 95 to 98% of traders go broke, I mean, they blow up their accounts. I've known hundreds of them, and they do all right for a while, and then they'll blow up the accounts. And one of the problems is because they're following things like the Elliott waves, MACDs. I'm sure we've heard all about these things, divergence signals. If you've looked at trading, you've probably got dozens of emails from different gurus who are gonna tell you something that this is gonna work all the time. You got to do a MACD crossover, or these Fibonacci levels are gold. You hear this stuff all the time. Well, listen, they don't work. I mean, the Fibonacci levels, anytime I've ever talked to somebody who's used Fibonacci, when the one level breaks, it's always the next level that's going to save them, or the next level after that. You're too far in by the time you get to it. So all of these things are coming off of the current price chart, the time frame that you're dealing on right now, and that's not enough, because this doesn't give you any kind of indication of what the institutions are doing. So here it is in a nutshell. We're all retail traders. I'm a retail trader. Everybody in this webinar is a retail trader, and we're out there trying to make some money. And so we're in there buying and selling things, buying options, buying stock, and impacting the market infinitesimally. We don't do any. We don't have hardly any kind of an impact on it. And then you've got the big ball back here, which is this is the institutions. All of the hedge funds, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, all of the big banks, and the institutions who basically they can set the trend. And when they want to drive a stock up, they can do it. And if they want to drive a stock down, they can do it. And there's nothing, we can't do anything about that. What we have to do is identify when that's occurring and take advantage of it. I mean, we're basically just going to ride their coattails and make money off of the institutions, which is what the Compass system is doing. It's giving us information for what the institutions are doing, so we can take advantage of that. So here's a situation where if you've got 3 different markets, for example, 3 different time frames, and you've got one that's going like this, one that's going like this, and one that's going down. There is no institutions driving any of this. It's just some's working, it's not working. This is retail traders in there basically just causing chaos in the market. And if you're trying to trade that, this is what you get. I mean, there's no consistency to it. It's basically chop, and you don't want to be involved when there is chop in the market. So again, this is what the Compass system is going to do. This is really a tremendous piece of software. I haven't bought a lot of software in my life. I've looked at hundreds of them, but this is a really effective piece of software, and that's the key thing about it. The one we're talking about tonight runs on Thinkorswim, on TOS, but it also can run on NinjaTrader, and it can run on Interactive Brokers. As far as I know, I'm not sure if there's others, but the one we're going to be looking at, the one I use, is on the Thinkorswim system. All right, so and this is basically what the chart looks like. One of the charts looks like, and we're going to talk about the 4 lines that are down here, and we have 4 of them. This is basically this is a longer term frame. This kind of tells you what the stock is doing over a long period of time. It's green is bullish, red is bearish. Pretty obviously, you can see it's turned bearish here. This turned red. The 2 lines, the 3 lines, but especially the 2 that I watch the most. This is called the Laguerre. This is a modified Laguerre, which is an oscillator. And this is a modified Laguerre for the current time frame. So if you run a 5-minute chart, this would tell you what the market's doing, what the Laguerre is doing, the oscillator on a 5-minute chart. And talk a little bit about oscillators. General oscillators take into consideration divergence and momentum. That's what they're looking at. And with the modified Laguerre, it's modified because we're looking for only momentum in this particular line. We're not looking for divergence. Momentum is what we're looking for. We want stocks that are moving up. This next line up here is called the multi-time frame Laguerre, and this is the one that uses what's called a triple screen. This looks at the Laguerre oscillator in 3 different time frames, and when they're aligned, these are all they're aligned bearishly right here, so it's red. So you've got 4 different colors on here. You've got red, you've got blue, and blue is when the stock, or when the oscillator is coming off the lows and is heading up toward the highs. Yellow is when they're coming off of a high and heading toward the low. And when green would be that you have all of them in the moving on the upward above. It's actually above 80 on the oscillator for the Laguerre, but that's how you read these colors. So they go through phases, and what you want was when you're bearish, in a case like this, when you're bearish, you want all of these to correspond. You want red across the board, and especially with the 2 Laguerres. This 4th line up here is called the quant, and we'll talk about that briefly in a few minutes. But this basically is it's like an AI. Basically, it's looking across a lot of different stocks that trade with the stock that we're looking at. That's why it's called a quant, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But it might look a little bit scary when you first see it, but this is all really great information that's being presented in a really visual way to see it. So the other things that we're looking at on this chart, as you can see, we've all got right here. This is the right here is the 50-day moving exponential moving average of an exponential moving average. This is the smooth 50 EMA, so it doesn't react as violently to price moves as a regular EMA does. So it's smooth. And this is the 15 down here, this little white line, this little red line here. That's the 15 EMA of an EMA. Again, it's smooth. And the reason this is important, because this is what market structure is you're looking for. When you're looking to go short, you want the 50 to be red, you want the 15 to be below it. I mean, it's fairly easy. This line here is called the C2. We'll talk about that. That tells us how much chop is in the market and how much momentum is in, how much volatility is in the market. And the last thing I'll talk about here are these little red dots. These are trend dots, and the perfect short setup is the trend dots below the 15, moving down with the 15 moving down. You can see how nice that trends down. If you're in the trade and it comes down like this and this trend dots turn yellow, that's telling you that you're going into chop, you're getting some compression, time to get out of the trade. So this trade you would get in right here, and when you start to see that, you would exit. So very easy to visualize, and you know, if you're trading a position, it helps a lot. It makes it much easier to trade. So again, market structure is as determined by the institutional money. So when we're looking at the 50 over the 15, like the 15 below the 50 for a bearish and the 15 above the 50 for bullish, that is what the institutions have created. That's the trend that they've produced. So if you want to trade with the institutions, you want to be trading with a market structure that's in the same direction as the trade you take. So if you're long, you definitely want the 15 to be above the 50. You want them both to be green and both to be moving up. And the other thing is that we produce is the pivot points, which you'll see on the chart. The compass systems produce pivot points, which basically become support and resistance levels so that you can see them on your chart and know when you might want to consider taking some profits. So here's the setup for a long only. Again, here's the 50, green, moving up. Here's the 15, green, moving up. Now this is really important, because when you get, for example, when the stock pulls up like this and it starts to pull back, a lot of retail traders, when they see this, will go ahead and short it. They think that the trend is over. They become counter trend traders, and they're going to now take advantage of these institutions, they think, and they're going to jump in here and short this stock. Well, that's the problem with that, is it's a trap, because it's basically it's a bear trap. When they're coming in here and shorting this, the institutions have just stopped purchasing for a while. They pull back a little bit, but as soon as they jump back in again, this is what happens. And these people who have come in here and shorted it are trapped in this position. It's because they weren't trading with the institutions. In our case, we'd be looking for a pullback like this to the 15, for example, and then we would enter along here based on the institutions coming back in and pushing it up. So that's the long. And the short, of course, is going to be exactly the opposite. You've got a 50 moving down, red, a 15 moving down, red. And again, you don't want to be in any of when you're short here, you see these little bounces that come back up to 15. Again, these are the traps that a lot of retail traders fall into. They start to buy when the stock pulls back, and they think, okay, this has failed, it's going to head down. So they jump in here and they short it. And we're not doing that. We're going to be buying I'm sorry, they're going long here. They're going long here as it pulls up toward the 15. And we're not going to be going long on this trade whatsoever. We're going to be going short. So we could be shorting here. When it pulls up here and the retailers come in and start going long, we could short it again here. We could short it again here. We basically only want to be trading this particular setup and with a short setup. We don't want to be trading any long setups off of this, even when they bounce like this, because this is where the retail traders get trapped. They do get trapped in those trades, and we're going to take money from them when that happens. All right, and we have pivot points on here. We have these red dotted lines, blue dotted lines, and this is a resistance line right here. And as the stocks move up, you'll see that this becomes a resistance line, and comes down, or support line, I'm sorry, comes down, touches it with a hammer, bounces off of it. And you'll have these on your charts with the compass system. So when you're trading and you see the candlesticks, you can see where the pivot points are, where the support and resistance is, and adjust your trade accordingly when that happens. So here you can see here we've got a resistance level up here. It comes down, it comes up, goes through it, and then bounces back down off of it again. And you have to remember that resistance and support levels aren't necessarily points on the chart. They're areas on the chart. You know, when the institutions are driving the stock up or down, they don't necessarily drive it to the penny. It's gonna go through and down and then back up again. And it's important to give it a little bit of breathing room when that happens, because it's not a point in a chart, and you always really want to have confirmation when you're entering. Like in a case like this where it broke through this resistance level on this big green candle here, a lot of people will say, okay, this is broken resistance, it's going to keep going. You don't have any, you didn't have any confirmation of that. You needed another green candle stacking on it to prove that that break was going to take place, and it didn't. It just fell right back down again. And it's another same situation here. So again, these are support and resistance levels, and you can see the pivot points down here that it's bouncing off of them and moving back up again. It helps a lot when you're trading. You just need to know that those are there and trade accordingly. I mean, if you're short and then you come down to a support level, you want to be thinking about, maybe I should take some of my profits off here, or maybe take all my profits off here. So the way this is done, it's a triple screen method of data analysis. What triple screen means, it's looking at 3 different time frames and putting out the information on our charts based on those 3 time frames. And for example, on a time chart, and the charts for Thinkorswim are going to be time charts. Thinkorswim uses time. It's going to be 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, an hour. It's going to use those. So it's going to take whatever time you're using for your existing candles or your existing chart, like a 2 minute. Screen 1 would be a 6 minute, and screen 2 would be 18 minutes. So anytime that you've got like all green on your indicators, that means that all 3 of these time frames are they're in agreement. And so that allows you to know that this type of situation, when all of these are moving on 3 different time frames in the same direction, the institutions are in there. If you've got one moving up, one moving down, one moving sideways, you don't want any part of it. It's just, you want to stand away from that. And again, the other things that are on here, the tick charts, the range charts, Renko and the Unirenko, if you have a charting system that uses those, then the compass system will take whatever particular time frame you have, or whatever chart setting you've got, will take that into consideration and build its triple screen off of that. So they will be fine for whatever particular method you're using. I don't use Ninja, so I don't know. I don't trade with Renko or Unirenko, but I know Mark does a lot. And again, it's the same strategy. It's just looking across 3 time frames to find out if their institutions are in there buying or not. Okay, so basically the 3 metrics are going to determine money flow in the system. Okay, so what's going on? How do we know the institutions are in here? So we've got the triple screen assessment of the correlative markets. Now that's what Mark calls a neural net. This is the line I said was the quant line. The quant line takes a stock. Let's take Microsoft, and it takes all the stocks that trade in the same direction as Microsoft 70% of the time or more. If they trade with Microsoft, 70% of the time they're built into the quant calculation. So when you're looking at that quant line, if it's green, that means then the majority of the stocks that are trade with Microsoft are also trading in the same direction as Microsoft is. So it gives you an indication that since there's 3 time frames on this, that again, the institutions are in there generating that quant line for you. We also have the triple screen assessment of trend, which is going to be the obviously the time frames, but it's also going to be the C2, the little green or red line I told you that was called the C2. It tells us if we have momentum and reducing chop. It tells us if the chop is going down, the momentum's going up. So that'll tell us if we get a good trend. So if we've got a green on the trend, a green on the correlative, we know we've got institutions in there. And the third thing is this triple screen assessment on the Laguerre. And that's the multi-time frame Laguerre that I talked about. It was the second line down. It also is looking at the oscillator on 3 different time frames. So if you've got all 3 of these things in correlating, then you've got a huge advantage because of the fact that you now know that the institutions are in there with this trend. And remember, we're looking at this, that other people don't know this. I mean, they're looking at their one single time frame. They're not aware of what's going on here behind the scenes, and we do. And again, it's you have to have an edge to be profitable in trading. And this is a huge edge, and it's not something I had before. So this is a big deal. So this is the Compass trading system. We have the triple screen assessment of the Laguerre, the momentum, a powerful force that moves price. And now, obviously, momentum coming in is generated generally if it's across 3 time frames by the institutions. So this is something that I didn't really understand until I talked to Mark about this. When you're looking for momentum in a stock, it's not just moving higher. If these are candles, each one of these is a candle. This would be the closing price on that particular candle. This would be the closing price on this particular candle. You notice that the closing price is moving closer to the top of the candle on each one of these candlesticks. That's acceleration. That's what momentum is. In other words, the buyers are pushing this price, the closing price within the price on that time frame, to closer to the top, closer to the top. That's momentum, and that's what we're looking for. These are the trades you want to be in when this is occurring. And here it is to the downside. Exactly the same thing, except it's getting closer and closer to the bottom on the shorts. So this, when we talk about momentum on the chart, when we have momentum on a trend dots, when we have momentum on the C2, this is what we're talking about. This is the momentum we're talking about. And the Laguerre is also telling you the same thing, that it corresponds. So this is a big deal. And I don't want you to be, some of this stuff seems kind of dry, I know, but this is really important stuff, because it's important to understand what's behind all these colored lines on the chart. It's not just some magic. This is institutional information that we're finding, and this kind of gives you an indication of the different oscillators that are out there. You got Chapman, you've got this is the regular stochastics, fast stochastics, the Williams R. These are all oscillators that other people use. But the Laguerre with the modified Laguerre, you can see that it's much more effective than all of this up and down stuff. See, when the Laguerre is down here, is when it's up here pegged, this is 100. When it's up in this green area through 100, this gives you the idea that the institutions, this is a maximum amount of buying is going on in the institutions, and we're taking divergence out of there. So you see how notice how when this pulled down just a little bit for a couple of candles, you see how these dropped? You see how this didn't? The Laguerre tells you this is still a bullish trend. You don't want to be getting out. You certainly don't want to be going short. Where if you were watching some of these other oscillators, you might be confused. You may exit the trade when you're missing this particular move up. This is where we would want to get out, or when it's breaking down from this 100 level. So that's what the Laguerre is showing us, and it's important to know that. Like I said, it might seem a little dry, but it's important. Here it is in candlestick form. here's the Laguerre down here on bearish. This is telling you very bearish. Moves up, gets very bullish here. Notice the price action. The price action, Laguerre is telling you exactly what the price action is doing. Now, when the Laguerre starts to pull back from this high level, you see what's happening here? You see all this chop? This is telling you that the institutions now are not, they don't have the momentum they did before. They're not buying as much. We're getting a lot of chop. We don't want to be in this. We want to be in this. We don't want to be in this. So if you're in this trade, this is where you would be getting out. And again, depends on what time frame you're in, but this works for all time frames. If it was a 5-minute chart, if you were doing day trading, it could be an hour chart. If you were doing a swing trade or a longer term swing trade, it could be a 4-hour chart. Just depends on what you're comfortable with and how long you want your trade to go. But the information is exactly the same. Because remember, we're looking at these things through the time frames that we're using on our chart plus 2 others. Okay, so here's the momentum triple screen, and this shows you momentum. Here's your one time frame. This is the chart we're looking at, for example. Here's another time frame. See, it's moving up. This is another time frame. It's moving up. This tells you that you've got the momentum in the stock. This is what the momentum is, and this is what the compass system is looking for. It's looking for the current time frame to match this time frame to match this time frame, and they all match. So this is institution buying that's pushing the stock price up, and it gives you, the important thing is it gives you a very high probability trade when all of these are in alignment. If they're not in alignment, you don't really want to be in there, because it means that the institutions are not firmly in the trade. It's mostly retail traders. So this is a momentum assessment. So it's got to look at the momentum of each candle on the 2 higher multiples. Remember where I showed you the candlesticks with the prices closing closer to the top each time. As that closes closer to the top, you've got momentum. So if you've got the percent K sloping up on all of these, the bulls are in control. Obviously, that's going to be green. When it's red, it's bullish, bearish. The bears are in control. And when the lines are not in agreement, you're going to get yellow, which means there is no consensus that long or short. It's just basically chopping around at the moment, and it's not necessarily one that you want to be in. So green and red is where we want to be. And here is this is the multi-time frame Laguerre, and this is the modified individual time frame Laguerre. So you can see as the different colors here, we're looking for longs when they both align. Now here we went, and blue, by the way, is bullish. Bull is okay. Bullish just means it's moving up. It just hasn't got to the max yet. But the multi-time frame has. So when the multi-time frame corresponds to the current time frame, whether it's 5-minute or whatever, then you can be bullish. But you notice here we get some yellow in the current time frame, and then soon after that the multi-time frame also turns yellow, which means this is what we're getting right here. And if you look at the Laguerre line right here, this is the Laguerre oscillator. This reflects the Laguerre oscillator right here. When it's green, you see that it's up here above in this red area all the way across. It's up here near the 100. When it starts to move down, it goes blue, moves back up, it gets green, and then when it heads back down below it, you see how it's gone down below, it turns yellow, and then it turns red as it goes to the bottom. And these both are working together. This time frame here, this is your current time frame on Laguerre, is going to correspond to this Laguerre line right here, because this is also the Laguerre for the current time frame. This is the multi-time frame, which is looking at 3 different time frames to tell you what's going on. But when this goes from from green to yellow, then you got to be concerned that this long is starting to deteriorate, and this tells you right away that it has. So you don't want to be in this trade unless you go short at this point. But so that's how those correlate with each other. And the quant line we talked a little bit about, and what he calls a neural net, which is this is when a lot of stocks that trade with a stock are all going in the same direction. Now think about the calculations that had to go into this. This quant information, you have to build a database of stocks that trade with that particular stock 70% of the time, and ETFs as well. So it's quite a lot of detailed data crunching and data to produce that quant line. But again, 28 components examined by the all systems for the AI system for correlation. So they're looking for stocks that correlate with whatever stock or ETF you're looking at. And that quant line will tell you when they're all in agreement, mostly all in agreement, or if they're not in agreement, which you would get a different color. You'd get a yellow, or you'd get a blue or a red when they're not in agreement. And you don't want to be in those kind of trades. Again, green is good, red is bearish. So this is what I'm going to show how this works. This, for example, is the E-mini. So here's the E-mini on an individual chart, going down, going up. All right, so you're trading this. But what that doesn't tell you is, here's the E-mini when it's going down and then it's going up. Here's the Dow going down and then going up. The Russell 2000, the NASDAQ. All of these particular indexes are they'd be part of the quant for this particular index. So if I was looking at the E-mini and I wanted to go long and the quant was green, it would mean that the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the Russell are all moving with it, which is what you want. I mean, you want these to be in agreement, just like you got a green line here. The reason you got a green line here is because they were all green, all moving up, and why you got a red line here was because all three of them were moving down. So your quant line would be reflecting the correlation between the stocks that are meant to correlate with that stock. So it seems simple, but it's really important. You don't want to be trading the E-mini if you've got the Russell the E-mini going up, the Russell going down, the Dow going sideways, and the NASDAQ going down. You don't want to be in the trade. And the momentum chart, this is a C2 indicator that I talked about. It's basically be red or green. So that's actually the bottom one. And I'll show you in a minute. It shows us the momentum in chop. So I need to get to it. Here we go. All right, so here's momentum on a triple screen. So here's momentum going up. Again, we saw this before. Here's momentum. Here's momentum. All right. As the momentum increases and the chop decreases, the C2 line will reflect that on your chart. You'll have as the C2 gets wider, there's two lines that get wider. When it's green, it's bullish, and the two lines as they get wider tell you the chop is going away, momentum is increasing, and the stock is more and more bullish all the way along that line. And again, here we've got the same thing in reverse. This would be the bearish C2. So the C2 is going to show you that you've got stock moving down on the current time frame, moving down on this time frame, moving down on the third time frame. They're all in agreement. And this is a triple screen, and it shows you that the chop is increasing, momentum is decreasing. You don't want to be playing these kind of trades. I mean, it's just bouncing all around. So here's a C2 line, and so now you know what's creating the C2 line. Here's the C2, and you see that it's green, that's bullish, and you see it's fairly wide here, and it narrows out a little bit, and then it gets wide. As this moves up, this is a very bullish setup. Your C2, your momentum, showing you a lot of momentum. You notice it got a little thinner here because it was some chop, and then it get fatter again as the stock moved up. So as you're trading and you're looking at the C2, you want this to obviously to be in agreement. When you're bullish, you want the C2 to be moving, to be cut the same color, and you want when it's bearish, you want it to be this red moving down, and you want your other indicators to be red along with it. But this is what it looks like on your chart. And again, you can see that this turned bearish right here on this big candle, and it's telling us that it's bearish, and then it gets flat. And you see here as it moves across, it's green, but it's very narrow. It's just telling us that the stock is moving sideways. These are really great indicators. Here we have the C2 on a bearish one. Pretty obvious. I mean, you can see as it moves down the line, it gets wider. The the speed of the stock going down is increasing, your momentum's increasing. That's good short. And here, this was actually a sell signal on this, on right here, which you don't necessarily take it there because this was green, but as soon as it breaks through, you can see the C2 is now red. And if your other indicators are all red, this is a very nice bearish move. And you know, the colors do it for you. It's just the system is doing this all itself. These are more examples of the C2, you know, red coming down, green going, it pops up green and then turns red again. And again, you would be looking at, you want the C2 to correspond to your other indicators on your chart when you're trading this. Okay, and this is the Rlt confirmation. This is the very bottom line on the chart that I'll show you in a minute, right here. This is a longer term confirmation, and it's only red or green. You don't get the other colors. You're going to have red for bearish, you can see that, and then it turns green for bullish, and it doesn't react as quickly as the other lines do. It's giving you more of an overall longer term view of what that stock or ETF is doing for a longer term. But it's called the confirmation line, and again, it's going to be used with the other indicators as well. And there it is again. You can see how green it is all the way along here, and it turns red right here. It's for confirmation of your trades. I mean, you're looking for as many indicators matching up as you possibly can to make this work. And here it is again. Notice how it turned green here briefly on that big candle, and then it went back to red again. And you want to be watching these things, because if you're getting multiple colors that are coming and going on these lines, it usually just means chop. If it goes blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, not something you'd want to trade. And here's more of that. All right, you have these pop signals. They're called pop out of the box. We have them on the chart. What they're looking for is they're looking for a compression, a sideways movement, and then a break of that sideways movement. And if you look at, like, for example, this buy signal right here, we have bullish ones that are pink and bearish ones that are blue. And as the stock moves sideways, and then you get a pop above this compression, you're going to get an arrow right there. And sometimes you get 2 or 3 in a row when that happens, and that's usually a good buy. And here you can see the bearish pop out of the box, and that comes down, and it keeps coming down. And so these are good indicators to buy or sell if everything else is equal. You want to make sure if you're going long here, you want your lines to be green. You want green on everything. You wouldn't be taking a compression here on a bearish stock, but on a bullish stock, these are identifying compression, and they work really well. I use them all the time. I mean, this is for when I'm doing trades. I think those are the trades I showed you. I use these all the time, and the best setup you can get on as far as I'm concerned, on the compass system, is if you have a stock that's compressing sideways and it moves right into the trend dots or the 15. In other words, it's when you look at it on the chart, that the 15 would be close by, or the trend dots would be close by, and then it gets a pop out of the box signal to go long, then that's an ideal setup because it's so close to support. And one other thing, volume weighted average price, it's called the VWAP. And I use this VWAP all the time on the 5-minute chart. You don't want to be on the VWAP line right here. You don't want to be trading short anything that's above the VWAP, and you don't want to be trading long anything that's below the VWAP. So if you're on an intraday trade, for example, and the stock is trading below the VWAP, you don't want to go long. But when it gets above the VWAP, then you can go long, and a lot of times it'll pull back to it. But you don't want to be doing any bearish trades in here. Even here, you don't want to be doing bearish trades. You would be doing bearish trades only if it pulled below the VWAP. It's an indicator that everybody should have on their charts. Everybody really should be using the VWAP, because it's important. The VWAP is volume weighted average price, is what the institutions determine. They look at that. They look at it to find out when to buy or sell stocks based on that. So when the stocks are above it, it tends to be bullish, and when they're below it, it tends to be bearish. And there's shorts here. Again, you wouldn't be taking any longs on a 5-minute chart that had a stock trading below the VWAP. I mean, some people will try to buy right here because they see this bottoming and ride it up. But the problem is you've got this VWAP. It's unlikely to continue long anymore. So I just skip those. I mean, I would be shorting it here. I wouldn't be long here. I'd be looking for an opportunity to get short. So anyway, that kind of summarizes the system. It really is a powerful trading methodology. It's for retail folks like me. After trading for 12 years, it's made a huge difference in my trading. It makes it much less stressful to trade. You have a lot more confidence in the trades that you take because you've got all of these indicators backing up your decision, and it's going to also help you avoid trades that you don't want to take. I mean, it's really it helps. I tell you, if you can avoid a losing trade, that's just as good as a winning trade. It's putting money in your pocket that would have been taken out if you traded a bad stock. And this system does this better than anything I've ever seen that will help you do that. You're always going to be trading with the institutions. There'll be some losers, but you're trading with a much higher probability than anybody else, any other retail traders. You really have a big edge. And so actually, we'd after seeing this, and we'll answer questions and stuff. But this is really a tremendous piece of software. I mean, really a tremendous piece of software. And again, it's easy to learn. I think you saw though the workspace is how it's intuitive. It's all red green. I mean, it's colors. So I mean, I can teach a person who's never traded before to identify a good long and a good short. You can't do that on a regular chart. It's much too complicated. And of course, you can any size account can trade. And it's stocks and options. I use options all the time. I have an options room where I day trade and short-term swing trade using options. And it's perfect for it. It's perfect. So again, this is a wrap up of the trading success equals financial freedom. It really does. I mean, if you're able to be a full-time trader and trade for a living, it's great. I mean, you work from home. You don't have anybody to answer to except yourself. You are responsible for your own losses and gains. But some people just want to be able to trade to add some income to their house every month. You know, this will bring in some additional money. It's perfect for that. It depends on what you want for yourself. When I started learning, my whole point was to learn as much as I could and as fast as I could so that I could be independent and trade for myself. That's what I wanted to do, and I was able to do that. And this is really this would speed the process up for anybody who wants to get to a higher level trading. And so you have two choices, of course. We just laid out the software for you. You can do nothing and continue in your current path, which is fine. You know, but if you want to move your trading ahead, if you really want to become profitable consistently, then getting the compass system, I believe, is really the first step you really need to take. I mean, it's going to help you tremendously. I speak from experience. I mean, this is what got me to do this because it made such a big difference in my trading. And I've looked at so many systems, it's just, you can't imagine. And it'll come with a quick start guide. You get this rapid results quick start guide. The support you get is great. I mean, I've had people in my rooms just today say that they needed some help. They called down the office and immediately they got on the phone, hooked into the machine and loaded up the workspace for them. So you get really anytime you want any kind of support, you're going to get the best support. They've got some really good techs down there. Sergio does the installations and works with the users on this systems, and it's really good. He's really good at it. He's done it with me many times. So it's kind of a review of what we're talking about, what the Compass software usually would go for. We have a scanner that comes with this that actually is we've been working on. It's been updated. It'll be updated again, and that's really important. You also come with this quick start guide. You're going to get free lifetime upgrades, which means any change that's made to the system, and they're upgrading the system. They make it better all the time. Comes with it, and the VIP support we talked about, and live online coaching. You know, I do a lot of coaching in the room that I'm in, and I'm putting together some Compass webinars on basically going over in more detail the system for people who want to learn the best trading strategies of how to use it. It takes a little time to do that, but that would be available to you. So that would be the total cost, $68.65. It's pretty expensive, but normally what they charge is $29.97 for the Compass system. The discounted price is $14.97 a year, which is really good. I don't know if you've ever been out and looked at some of these other systems costs, but they're very expensive. But for what we're doing tonight now, for the first 20 traders to come aboard, and this is a really good, you're going to get additional software and more. And this is the scanner. This is what the scanner looks like. Basically, you would run the scanner on whatever time frame you wanted, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, daily, and it'll produce your bullish and bearish results that you can then look at the charts to find the best ones. What I typically do is I just sort on the net change for the day and or the volume, and it gives me the highest movers that I can work with. So this scanner, and this is being improved all the time. So this would come with it. You also get free access to my trading room, which is an options trading room, which we all use TOS. We all use the Thinkorswim platform, and you get in there for a month, and it's 5 days a week. And I actually do a lot of training in there when I'm taking trades or when I'm just looking at stocks. A lot of times I'll talk about the Compass system and why this is a good trade and why this is not a good trade, so that we're educating us at the same time. And so what this investment is for the first 20, and this is spectacular, $9.97 lifetime. So you get this software, you buy it one time, it's yours to keep forever, with lifetime licenses. I mean, you get a lifetime license. You're going to get all upgrades forever for free, and with the scanner, with also for lifetime, the trading room access, which would be for 1 month, and we also have an alert service, by the way, for anybody in the trading room options. When I put a trade on or close a trade out, we send out the SMS text alerts on each one of those trades, and we've just put that on recently. So this room's has been only in business since we only went operating since January 3rd. So this has been just 3 weeks, and the market's been brutal. So we're doing very well considering the market. I think we've had some really nice winners in there. We had several on the SPY today. So this is what you get for the first 20. It really is a great opportunity. Most software, and this software probably eventually before too long is going to be subscription based on a year. But right now you can buy this Compass system for $9.97, and it's really a good deal. I'm not a salesperson, but being a trader, I know how good this stuff is. And again, they're offering this to the first 20 traders. If you're interested in it, but you don't know if you want to follow through, if you just go ahead and put your phone number or your Skype username in the chat box, and Rory will give you a call and just kind of answer any questions you've got. No obligation. If you want it, fine. If you don't, fine. Nobody's going to pressure you into that. And I think he's probably put a link in the to the offer in the chat box. So you need to take a look at that. Yeah, somebody's asking about the Ninja Trader the setup. And the Compass system is different than the Ninja Trader setup. Ninja is a different kind of trading platform than TOS is. So it's not gonna look the same. So here is the Compass system right here on my screen. This is Pepsi on a daily chart right here. Here's your confirmation line. This is your modified Laguerre, the current Laguerre. Here's your multi-time frame Laguerre, and here's your quant line. Those are the 4 that we talked about. Here's your C2 right here. Here's the 15, and here's the trend dots we talked about. One thing I didn't talk about was these acceleration dots. These green dots right here, when these are green, that means that the Laguerre is at maxed at 100, which means that's the maximum amount of buying pressure that can be taking place. And you can see Pepsi has been very strong for a good long time here. Nice chart, nice setup, everything's green. You know, it's easy to see this is a good stock right now and has been for a good long time. Now, let me see. Now, does the system only work for day trades? No, it can be used for short-term swings. I use it for swing trades all the time. You know, swing trades are in markets like this, they're a little more difficult because we've had a lot of gap ups and gap downs. So intraday, you can get out at the same day, but I use them for swings all the time. And when you get a trending market, swings are beautiful. I mean, you can make more money on swings than you can on intraday trades, just because you typically are going to get more moves overnight that are going to be in your favor. Let's see, he said I can run on a Ninja Trader, but I don't know if trade stocks and options using Ninja. I don't know. I've never used Ninja Trader. I know most people that use Ninja that I know of use it for futures. And I can't answer that question. How is the compass system compared to, I guess that's money flow and auto trading systems, which again is a Ninja system. The Ninja uses an NDT for doing futures. TOS it's a time-based chart. It's different. It doesn't have some of the information is all there. It's just presented in a little bit of different visual format than Ninja. Somebody says, I have a TD Ameritrade account, but I have not used it for options. Do you know, can NT be used to connect to Fidelity or TD Ameritrade for trading? Or is it just for futures and Forex? I really can't answer the questions on Ninja Trader. I know Rory uses it. I'm sure they can tell you. Mark certainly can. Rory probably can tell you about that. And people keep asking about how it reflects to the other systems. Again, the information that's being developed and put on the screen in this presentation with the colors and everything, it's the same information that's being generated for the Ninja Trader for the most part. I mean, Ninja is presented differently, but that's just because of the Ninja platform is different. I just bought the main system, but I always trade options. Is there a way to change? Talk to Rory. Rory can help you with that. Is there an auto feature in Compass? Well, there isn't an auto feature in there right now. You know, TOS actually allows you to. You can auto trade through TOS if you know how to set it up, but it's pretty complicated. But there isn't like an NDT for Compass right now. No, I trade through it, and the trading that you do is going to be manual. Somebody asked, how can I show how I use the scanner? I'll show you how, just briefly. I don't want to take up everybody's night here. The scanner is right here, and if I go here and this is looking for. Let's go back in here and I look at the scanner. I've got several different ones. I load a scan query. I go down here and I say, up first, I say RLT scan, and I want to do it daily. I just hit scan. It goes through. I want to change that to my personal list. And this is something, by the way, if you get the system, you get. I have a. Oops, I'm gonna do this. I have a liquid, what I call a liquid RLT list. This is going through all the stocks right now, so it's going to take a long time. But I have about 700 stocks, about 720 stocks that I have a watch list that I put on, that I scan every day. And if you get the Compass system, You'll get the scanner, but you'll also get that watch list. When Sergio puts the software on your desktop, he'll put it on there so that you can you'll have the scanner, and you'll have the liquid list to trade from. So you'll have all the same stuff I do. And this is after hours, so I'm not sure how this is going to work right now. Well, usually when I do run it during the day, I just pop it up there and then go back to trading, and then it'll. And this is looking for some results. It may not be getting any right now because of the way the market was today. So, but that's how you do it, and it populates it during the day, like I showed on the screen there. I probably have to do this during hours to make it better, so you can see it. How does it relate to options trading? I'm not sure I understand option trading. You know, what the compass system is doing is uncovering the highest probability prospects to trade. How you trade it at that point is up to you. I trade using options. People can trade using stocks. So once the compass system has found the stock for you that you want to trade, then you want to try to find a method that works for you. Like I said, when I find the high probability trades, I'm going to use options to make it work, and I'm going to post those in the room and tell people what strike I'm taking, what expiration date, what I'm paying for. And for short time frame, should a smaller time frame be used, or swing trading aligned with longer time frame? Yes, the way I look at the charts, when I'm intraday trading, I'm looking at a 5-minute chart. When I'm swing trading, I'm starting with a daily chart. Sometimes I'll look at a 4-hour, but generally I'm looking at the daily, because I want to know on a daily chart if it's a bullish trend, like if I'm going long. And even when I'm doing an intraday trade, for example, if I'm taking a stock trade that I think I may get out of today, I'd prefer to have the daily chart also be bullish, because if the market pulls back or the stock pulls back on me, I'd like to be able to hold that for a day or two to let it recover. And I can't do that unless I have a bullish daily setup too. So generally, most of the trades I take are going to be bullish 5-minute, bullish daily, bearish 5-minute, bearish daily. The daily will correspond with the 5-minute chart. I hope that helps you answer the question. What kind of options are you trading? ATM spreads, how much time to expire if not an intraday trade? I gave you a brief cover now. This is about my strategies, but I use in the money when I'm buying calls or puts. I use in the money. I use a delta of around 65 or 70, and I usually go out 3 weeks or 4 weeks, sometimes 2, but usually 3 or 4 weeks. I also do spreads. I do credit spreads and debit spreads. I do debit spreads expiring current week, which is kind of unusual, but I've found I've had really good success doing debit spread that expire current week. And then credit spreads, basically, I go out to prior to earnings. You have to have credit spreads expire prior to earnings, and I look to get at least 25% return on an option, so on the spread. So if I have a $5 spread between my long and short, then I expect to get $1. So that would be a 25%, because my risk would be 5 minus $1 I collected is 4, and I have $1, so that's 25%. That's how I do spreads. Can you mention briefly what the market scanner does? The market scanner that we've got now does a couple things. It looks for bearish and bullish pop out of the box signals, and it looks for lines crossing the trend dots crossing the 15. There's a buy signal right there on Pepsi. That's the trend dots moving up through the 15. When the trend dots move through the 15 and get above the 15, it's becoming much more bearish, much more bullish. So this is a bullish situation when you've got the trend dots. I try to always trade stocks that have the trend dots above the 15 for bullish, trend dots below the 15 for bearish. This will give me my highest probability and typically the fastest moves. So yeah, and that's what, if you ran the scanner and you popped up a Pepsi back here in the state, this is what the scanner would be putting out for a buy signal, and if it was a sell signal, it would be red. Right, so we put the number in there. Thank you very much. Andrew, okay. So Rory will see that, I'm sure. As a Canadian, do you know what broker I can use to trade options? I don't, to be honest with you. I've heard this question before. I don't know which brokerages trading allowed to trade in Canada. I'm not sure. You would have to check with the brokerage. If you try to set up an account, they'll tell you quickly, but I don't know which ones. Somebody just asked, what's the big vertical green box in the bottom line? And yeah, that's the buy signal. Red would be a sell signal. Somebody said buy Pepsi now. It's probably a pretty good bet, actually. Thank you. There's somebody else left the number. Thank you very much. Which line is the VWAP? On my chart, the VWAP, I changed it to pink. So if you get my layout, this is what you'll get. The VWAP on a daily is not really, to me, I don't think it's that critical, but it's critical on the daily chart. And here's the VWAP right down here. And so it would be pink. And I like it that color because it's easy to see for me. There it is there. So that's what I use. Let me sit this over. The Pepsi pullback this afternoon. But here's the VWAP. See, it's trading below the VWAP. So you wouldn't want to be doing an intraday long on Pepsi in that circumstance. And somebody asked about the options I take again. How much time till expiration, if not on intraday trades? Yeah, even on intraday trades, if I'm buying the options, I'm not taking, unless I'm doing a debit spread. I'm not buying options that expire this week. I'm buying options that expire 2-3 weeks out. You pay more for the options, but you're getting way less time decay on the options when you do that. It's you buy a current week's option, it's going to decay like crazy. If I'm going to do anything with current week options, I'm going to be selling to premium or using debit spreads because the debit spreads give me an advantage because of on a debit spread, you're buying a call and selling a call. For example, the call you sell, the time decay is going to come out of that short call very quickly. Can Compass be used to trade futures on TOS? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, you would use, if I go over here now to here and I put in /ES. There's the SPY futures on the 5-minute right there. SPY, NQ, whatever you want. You can see how it nailed the short this afternoon. I traded SPY short today, and this is one of the things I was using to take that. This was a big move down. So. Yeah, absolutely. I trade futures all the time, and that's what I use to make that determination. Thinkorswim does futures. I don't actually trade them on Thinkorswim. I actually trade them on Tastyworks, but that's that's just a preference. I get a better commission on Tastyworks. How long would you have the access to the trading room in this package? 30 days, a month, from whenever you get on. If you can listen to me for a month, that's one of the perks. How long you in business? Well, Brightline's been in business over 10 years, so I've been trading 12 years. The options room I just started 3 weeks ago, so it's as if kind of a new endeavor. And the reason is because I thought that people needed to be able to get exposed to the Compass system to trade options. I think this is really I was really kind of surprised there wasn't a room doing that. So that's what got me interested. What was my track record last year? I don't have it available. It was my win rate, generally is about 85 to 86, 87% roughly. And it depends on the year. Like last year was a terrible year to trade spreads. I couldn't do an awful lot of credit spreads. So I had to do a lot of intraday trading because of the choppiness in the market. But year to year, it doesn't vary very much. I mean, in December, I had a huge December. I was like over 90%. But you know, that's just a lot of times it just depends on the market, you know. And but yeah, if I get below 85, 86%, I'm pretty disappointed. That doesn't happen very often. Okay, somebody wrote about the Ninja Trader multi-broker license from Ninja Trader, and one can chart and trade directly to TD Ameritrade. Huh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. I'll have to contact Ninja Trader to see about that. Okay, listen. Can you show how it performed this morning on NQ? Yeah. Somebody's interested in the Q futures. All right, so let's go back. Here's the open this morning. Of course, the market gapped up this morning quite a bit. So this was a pop out of the box signal. This was a resistance line. You would be hesitant to buy it right here with this resistance line right here. And it popped up and again hit another resistance line here. So there was a little bit of a move up. But like when you're shorting, you wouldn't be shorting here because you've got a green multi-time frame look here right here. As it comes across, this afternoon is when I took the SPY, and this is when it gets when all of the stuff starts to go red, and yellow would be considered red in this case because it's bearish. It's moving down. You know, you get a nice sell signal here, and this is a buy signal that you would never take on all this red, and then a nice sell signal right here. And this is when things started to really go down, and you see how much red you've got here. There's a sell signal off of that pop out of the box, and the dots crossing, and you could have, I mean, if you ride those trend dots down below this 15, and you just ride it down, it turns it till yellow. You get this whole move, and that's a big move in the Qs right there. I mean, that's a big move down in the Qs. I know because I had the SPY this afternoon, and it was a big move down in the SPY. And how does it work during a bear market? I mean, a bear market and a bull market, there really isn't any difference except, you know, if you get a bearish market, and keep one thing in mind about a bearish market. A bear market means that the indexes are down 20%. So you don't know you're in a bear market till you're in a bear market. You don't know that there's a bear market coming. We're down 9% right now since the beginning of the year or so. So we're right near correction territory. So is this going to be a bear market? We don't know. We don't know until it gets down 20%. But the compass system is looking for longs and shorts. And if you're in a market that should be shorted, you're just going to look for your shorts. I mean, you look for stocks that are set up like this with all the red, and you trade those. If the market's moving down, that's where you want to trade. Somebody asked about a 5-minute trade today, and I showed the SPY that I used today. This was a SPY again. This is where I showed that here's a sell signal on the SPY right here, and that was early this afternoon. The dots are just coming down below the 15 right here, and then you can ride it all the way down to market close. This is market close right here. Very bullish, very bearish afternoon. Really, really tough. Somebody's showing it. Rory, get the SMS alerts. I'm sure Rory saw that. Somebody said he doesn't know too much about credit spreads. I tell you what I'm planning on doing for any members. I'm going to put out a couple of webinars. I'm going to do. It's not going to be a webinar. It's going to be a video. I'm going to do a video on the scanner to go in more detail how to use it, and I'm going to do a video on doing credit spreads because we have a lot of people in the room that would like to do credit spreads but haven't used them. And then I think they're really a good tool for anybody's trading arsenal, because they're going to produce really nice premiums every week, every month, if you know how to do them correctly and you're using the right stocks. We had one on Boeing, I think 2 weeks ago or something, that we got a credit like of 47 cents, and I closed it out for 15. Most people close it out for a dime 2 days later. So it's nice. The very credit spreads have very limited risk, because you're creating a spread, so your risk is defined, and is easy to you can manage it. If it's a $5 spread, you've got 500 minus the dollar you collected, you got $400 risk on each contract. And now, but I'm also going to do one on debit spreads, which is really not very many people that I know do debit spreads the way I do, and it really works really nicely. You just have to stick within some certain criteria, and it would take me a while to go over that. I'm using VWAP on 30 and 60 minutes, or just on the daily. I use the VWAP on most of the time. I trade the 5-minute chart on intraday, so I'm using the VWAP on the 5-minute all the time. I don't really look at it on the daily. I mean, most of the time the stock price is gonna, on the daily chart, is gonna hang around the VWAP all the time. But I mean, you can use it on the 30 or 60, sure. I mean, if you're intraday trading off of a 30-minute chart, yeah. Do I sell options for credit spreads? Yeah, I do sell options for credit spreads. That's what a credit spread is. You bring in premium, and you basically you sell, for example, a put. For a put credit spread, you sell a put, and then you buy a put at a lower strike price, and you keep the difference between the two. The white pivot different than the red and blue pivot variances. The way I treat them, I treat the white line as much more solid resistances or support levels. The pivot points tend to, as if a stock's moving up, the pivot points are going to go up with the stock. If the stock, if you've got a pivot point, that's generally about the high that it's hit that day, or the low that it's hit that day. And once it breaks through there, if it keeps moving up, it's going to move the pivot points. The white lines typically stay where they are. How do I find the executions and slippage in Tastywork futures trading? I don't have any problem with it at all, to tell you the truth. It's not been. I don't have much slippage there at all. I mean, when you go in, you typically there's like on the ES is going to be like a quarter. It's going to be like a quarter of a point, 25 cents bid and ask. So you might get slippage there, but I've used them. I've used it. MP4, I've used a bunch of them for futures, and I don't have any problems with Tastyworks at all. Is this a class to show upgrade to TOS? Yeah, this is an upgrade to TOS. This is the Compass system works on TOS. So if you buy the Compass system, it's going to be put by Sergio. Is going to install that on your TOS system. So his TOS system is going to have the chart set up that I have right here. It's workspace. It's going to be exactly like that. Minimum account size. For me, I mean, if you're trading options and you're not, see, the problem with minimum account size. If you don't have 25,000, then you're unless you're using a cash account, it comes under what's called a PDT, a day trader, basically. So but if you want to trade like overnights, I try to give out overnight options if the market is conducive to it, like, so you can put them on like at 3:30 in the afternoon and take them off the next morning, and then they don't count as a day trade. And I also do swing trades, so if you have a smaller account, you could do swing trades like that. You wouldn't be able to trade intraday trades. You can only make 3 trades every 5 days if you're a pattern day trader. If you didn't have the 25,000, so if you had a cash account, you could do that. If you ask your broker, they can set up a cash account. But when you make a trade with a cash account, it usually takes another day to clear. So you don't have that money available till the next day when you close it out. What is the price of the chat room after 30 days? It's $129 a month. Do you close out the SPY puts or hold overnight? I close the SPY puts out. You know, I'm really hesitant to take anything with the Qs of the SPY overnight right now with these ridiculous gaps. I mean, you know, this thing could gap up 300 points in the morning or gap down 300 points in the morning. So it's a crapshoot. Again, when we trade, we want to have an edge. If you don't know what the market's going to do, you don't have an edge. You know, you might as well be throwing dice. If you think the market's going to gap down in the morning, then you could take some SPY put, sure. Yeah, somebody says it's all mental, just trade the chart. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the biggest problem with trading is emotions. The support and resistance lines auto-generated in the compass system. Yes, they are. Does it work for Forex? You know, I've never used Forex on the Tastyworks. I mean, on the Thinkorswim system. If you can put Forex in on the chart, it'll work. I mean, it's really just a matter of what you're viewing on the chart. Any particular instrument that you can view in the chart would work. This guy, somebody says for intraday option trades, they do not qualify for margin requirements. And again, that would mean you would need to be either doing swing trades or to be have an account set up as a cash account. And if you set it up as a cash account, you can trade it, and they won't treat anything as a pattern day trader. But again, if you buy an option today and then close it today, the money's not going to go into your account until the next day when the actual transaction closes. And what time did I enter the SPY puts? It's a good reminder. I'd have to go back and look. Typically, it was somewhere here around 2 o'clock or 2:20, something like that. It was relatively, probably off of this signal right here because I was doing a lot of other things. But when these dots cross below, and I got a bearish move like that, that was likely right around there. Okay, I think it's about all the questions I've got here. So just look one more time here. Is this indicator the same as the money flow? Money flow indicator on Ninja is different than the indicator on the TOS, but it's again it's a different word for the same type of information that they're looking at. Yeah, market scanner. The market scanner, is it focused on stocks, or does it encompass all the assets? It will scan whatever you have in your watch list. All of the stocks on my watch list are stocks, and ETFs. I have some ETFs in there. I don't have Forex in there. I've never used Forex on TOS. I've used Forex on MP4, but I've never used it on here. But the scanner will scan anything that's in your watch list. You can create a watch list and use it within TOS and just scan against it. You could have a watch list of just 25 stocks if you wanted. Is there any update in the indicators, the RLT indicators? All you have to do, if yours doesn't agree with mine, then all you have to do is call Rory, and he will go ahead and not Rory or Sergio. He can take the current. They have the current copy of my workspace as is, and they'll just put it right on your machine, so it'll be duplicated. All right, that's the last question. I think I've taken up most of your night here, so I didn't mean to go so long. I really appreciate everybody everybody being here and listening to this. Like I said, sometimes it seems a little complicated, but I wanted you to understand what's going into the calculations on the compass system that makes this so effective, how we're getting that institutional information. So again, everybody, thanks so much for coming to the webinar and listening to me for so long. And I really hope to see you in the trading room. I really encourage anybody who wants to become a better trader to invest in the compass system. I think it's the best investment you can make from a trading standpoint. So anyway, hey, thanks very much and appreciate it.